On December 7, 1941, in a surprise attack, the Japanese bombed the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. After that one violent morning, Americans found themselves involved in the Orient, in Europe, in Africa. Many of them were Delawareans. World War II ushered in a new age for Delaware, as it did for all the United States. The war brought death and terror, but it also brought progress. In 1941, Delawareans could hardly realize the kind of progress that would flower in the mid-20th century. From 1929 to 1939, the United States had been in the grip of a Great Depression. Delaware had not been as badly hit as many states, and much of the progress made during the Depression was made in Delaware. Insecticides were developed and improved for the benefit of farmers. Refrigeration facilities became safer and more efficient due to the efforts of the Wilson Cabinet Company and to DuPont Industries. DuPont cellophane gained a great popularity, as did the same company's fabric, acetate, a notable contribution to the clothing industry. In 1937, the recently created Latex Corporation moved its headquarters to Dover, Delaware. It was to become one of the state's primary industries. But there were still undeveloped areas in Delaware. There was still a great need for more progress, more improvement, and the Depression still lingered. Then came World War II, and for the second time in the 20th century, Delawareans went off to battle. They went into the Pacific, to the Far East, into the swampy, jungled islands of the Orient, the Philippines, Okinawa, Iwo Jima. Went to North Africa and to Europe. They fought at Casablanca. They drove their way into France with the Normandy invasion. They fought in the mud of Germany. They brought home Bronze Stars, Silver Stars, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Away from the battles, but not away from the war, the state of Delaware swung into full production. DuPont nylon went into parachutes and combat clothing. Gunpowder production shot up. Industries experimented with atomic power. Dravo shipyards in Wilmington became the largest employer in the state. Delaware agriculture rallied behind the war effort. In 1944 alone, Sussex County produced 60 million broiler chickens. During the 4 years of war, Delaware defeated the lingering depression and began to realize an unequaled prosperity. Then the war was over. Germany was defeated. Japan was ruined. Delawareans came home again. Some came healthy and unscarred. Some came missing an arm or leg. Some never came home at all. But the war had been won. The war was over, but the prosperity which had accompanied the war was just beginning. The United States was on the edge of a fantastic boom, and Delaware, second smallest state in the Union, looked ahead with a gleam in its eye. Delaware was well equipped to cope with prosperity. It had many different types of industry, many varying agricultural ventures. The state was ready to make something of itself. The figures proved that it did. In the 20 years between 1940 and 1960, Delaware's population grew from about 266,000 to 446,000. It became and is one of the fastest growing states in the country. Industry has been largely responsible for Delaware's growth since World War II. Wilmington has continued its non-stop development as the chemical capital of the world. Industries that began centuries ago continue to operate with ever-improving manufacturing advances. Leather, textiles, and industries which overlap with agriculture. Food processing, with canning and packing plants in Dover and Seaford. And the giant food-related industry of Delaware, General Foods. In the early part of 1964, General Foods Corporation opened its largest plant in Dover, Delaware, increasing the population and wealth of an already prosperous state. In the years since World War II, Delaware agriculture fulfilled the promise it had shown for so long. As the state was known for many types of industrial products, it was also known for many types of agricultural produce. Chickens in the south, grains in the north, and all kinds of truck farming in between. 20th century farming methods and machinery did much to make Delaware rich agriculturally. Crops range from tomatoes and lima beans to melons and asparagus. Sussex County, with its vast production of broiler chickens, ranks as one of the highest counties in the country in agricultural income. Into the mid-20th century, Delaware's soil continues to produce. And so do the waters of Delaware. The state has always had its fishermen. The sea and the bays have always provided a living for them. But as the 20th century progressed, fishing became and continues to be a sizable industry. Various fish and other seafood are valuable for purposes other than eating. The menhaden for oil, crabs for fertilizer. In all, an industry worthy of notice. The sea and the land combine to make Delaware rich. Industry sprinkled through the state to increase its wealth. In the years following World War II, more people have come to work in Delaware. More industrial and agricultural goods have been shipped from Delaware. To meet the needs of its increasing travel loads, 20th century Delaware has risen to the transportation challenge. From several directions, entrances to the state involve crossing large bodies of water. The 20th century has seen Delaware move from an age of boats to an age of bridges. The whole Delmarva Peninsula has opened the way to the mainland. With the Bay Bridge linked to Maryland with the eastern shore spanning the Chesapeake Bay. With the Chesapeake Bridge Tunnel, an engineering marvel crossing the bay at the southern tip of the peninsula. The state of Delaware has provided its own bridging link to other states, most notably with the huge Delaware Memorial Bridge, which arches over the state's namesake river into New Jersey. Delaware is no longer a difficult place to reach or pass through. Spiked with bridges, touched by an interstate freeway and the New Jersey Turnpike, spanned by the DuPont Highway, Delaware is more of an avenue for travelers, more of a crossroads than ever before. People have come from all parts of the country and the world. They still come in increasing numbers. People of all professions have come to work and live in Delaware, and many also come to play in Delaware. With the increased nationwide wealth following World War II, the country also gained a great deal more leisure time. Time for play, time for recreation. Tourism and recreation have become industries to themselves. Industries which Delaware is well suited to handle. Favored with a long scenic coastline, the state lures thousands of vacationers to its beaches. Historic places and festivals draw other tourists into Delaware towns for enjoyment and enlightenment. And the state's remaining wilderness contributes to Delaware's prosperity. The coastal marshes serve as wintering areas for thousands of geese and ducks. And with the game birds come the hunters. Every hunting season, Delaware is peppered with sportsmen, as it is with fishermen. Away from the bustle of industry, Delaware's other world attracts visitors to the seashore, to the parks, the game areas. Wildlife regions are one of the ways in which 20th century Delaware has made giant strides in bringing more people inside its borders, but it has not neglected the native Delawareans. The efforts of the state to improve within itself hinge largely on education. The University of Delaware and Delaware State College have expanded both their campuses and their educational offerings. Elementary and secondary schools have grown more numerous and more efficient. 20th century advances have lent improvements to schools as well as to industry and agriculture. Delaware students may now receive excellent training for their future lives, whether their interests lie in farming or the arts or their many branches of science, or something very apparent in present-day Delaware, the military. In 1952, Delaware became the site of a giant military post. The Dover Air Force Base, south of the state capital, is the largest air freight terminal on the East Coast. The air base combines with many industries, sprawling agriculture, and world of wildlife to make the state a place of great liveliness and variety. Delaware in the mid-20th century has come a long way from those three counties that used to be hooked to Pennsylvania. Delaware is now progressive and prosperous, a state very much in tune with the 20th century. But its history is still everywhere. The struggles and the triumphs of earlier centuries are inescapable, ever present. Beneath its present hum and movement, the rich historic background is very near the surface. People still speak of William Penn and of Caesar Rodney's ride. A home like Woodburn may be the governor's mansion in the political center of the state, but people still think of Woodburn as a house that Patty Cannon raided. Latex Corporation turns its manufacturing to products for the space age, but Amish farmers still churn butter on their farms. Automobiles throng the highways and bridges lift against the sky, but carriages and steamboats are not forgotten. Delaware's history is all through the state, preserved or restored, making the country's second smallest state a curious and fascinating mixture of the old and the new. The 17th and 18th centuries exist in Delaware, but there is no question of the present age. The state is running smoothly toward the 21st century and all that it may bring. Delawareans may glance backward with pleasure at their history, but their movement is forward.